Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Morning Cup. I'm so excited because today I have a fierce entrepreneur with me, Monique. She is not only a business consultant, but she is president of BNC Speakers, and I am so honored to have her today. So thank you so much for joining me today, Monique.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, we're excited to have you and just hear about your journey because you have such an interesting journey of where you got to today. But I would love for people to know a little bit more of the ups and downs of your entrepreneurial journey, if you could share with us.
Yeah, of course. So I guess I'll start like kind of like almost 10 years ago. I started in finance, so more on the corporate side, but I was kind of like in this corporate slash quasi, kind of business owner role as well. So I had my own financial planning practice. I was one of the top 10 female financial advisors in the Western region. And it was really hard to make that leap. And I swear it was like a movie moment one day as we were celebrating like a colleague's 50th anniversary at the firm. And I couldn't breathe. And that's when I knew. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do this for the rest of my life. And, after probably like 6 to 8 months and, doing a lot of self-discovery and trying to like see what is it that I really want to do with my life, made the leap, jumped into entrepreneurship full force. I had a business partner at the time and we went into a startup in the CBD and hemp space. So we were doing international distribution in that area. And that was going strong for about 18 months. But then, that was also a startup that we failed in. So lots of competition, a lot of different reasons, wrapped up in there as well. But kind of coming off of the back of that too, I made the transition into consulting, and it was actually my partner, and he was like, I don't think you should go back into corporate, because I was like, oh my gosh, I need to recover mentally, financially, emotionally after like having failed in the entrepreneur space and starting my first business. He was like, yeah, try consulting. He's like, you're really good at it. I'm like, who would actually want to take my advice? Because I just failed massively. But it was learning through that, some of those struggles, that actually this could actually really help people. And he was one of my first clients and I helped him 4x his revenue. And then my second client, I helped him get to 7 figures. So I was like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing.
I think so.
Right. And so with that journey, more opportunities just came through. And then I actually got a chance to reconnect with my old mentor, Ben Newman, who's one of the top 50 speakers in the entire world. And he actually asked me to take over his speaking division. And so now I'm president of BNC Speakers, and I still maintain my consulting practice. And yeah, that's kind of a little bit about the journey, but definitely lots of ups and downs through that.
Yes, no, it definitely sounds like that. And I know because we had met in Clubhouse and it's full of entrepreneurs when we first started, but just hearing your journey too of like how you overcame that failure, because I do think in business we fail so many times more than we succeed sometimes, but being able to have that experience allowed you to start consulting. And what was that transition like when you did start consulting? Because there's a lot of like, sometimes people are like, I don't know, this is risky. How do I start? What do I do? So, what are some words of wisdom, I guess, of like your journey and what you were like feeling at that time when you started?
Yeah, of course. Such a great question. I feel like I was definitely feeling a lot of like imposter syndrome and just like worry that people wouldn't take me seriously because I just failed massively. But then I just kind of had to like, I spent a lot of time journaling, and that's very like helpful for me because it just helps me externalize everything that's in here,
Yes.
just put it onto paper. And so what I started to realize was, I was starting to just create evidence of things that I actually did well. And I was like going back to my days in finance. So it's like I had a thriving practice. I had a lot of really happy clients, and even though the business was a failure with my startup, there were still so many lessons learned throughout all of that. And so as I was starting to create that evidence, that helped me just increase my confidence as well. So that would be my advice, is that if you are feeling like that, write a list of all the things that you rock at, and then create that evidence for yourself. And then that's what helped me take the leap. The other thing too was that, like, my first consulting client, I only charged them like $300 a month because that's all I thought I was worth, and then there was that whole like worthiness journey that I had to go through as well. And getting out of that mindset where the old paradigm is selling your time for money, when you should actually be selling value for money, and really like, thinking about what your expertise, your knowledge is truly worth.
Oh my gosh, you touched on something really important too, of just like the value piece. Because I know like when I started out like in my therapy world and journey, it was like charging just by client, by hour. And
Yeah.
then when I moved to coaching, it was so hard to transition because I'm like, well, do I charge the same as I did as a therapist? but being able to realize your value and being able to touch on that for you, like from your first client till moving forward, and how much you really understood your own worth, and journaling I'm sure really helped with that
Yeah,
too, like exerting everything from your mind because that can be a lot,
totally.
like where our thoughts just go rampant sometimes. But I love that you did take that into consideration of really what it sounds like, doing that reflecting of what you are really worth. And it's the value, it's the time, the expertise of what we've gone through, and being able to apply that at a price point that makes sense. And I think there's a lot of times the imposter syndrome, which I'm really glad you brought up, because it's something that I think is so imperative to understand when we move from level to level, like as we in our journey of being an entrepreneur, of just how many clients we get and how we start to really exert ourselves. Have you experienced imposter syndrome as you've grown through your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it comes in waves, honestly, because
Mm-hmm.
every time you reach a new level, there's a new double, right?
Yeah.
And so like as that's been happening for me personally, I always have to go back to creating that list of just like things that, we're awesome at.
Yes.
And then really just coming back to reflect that, and then really just thinking to myself too, because sometimes I can get really cynical about like, everything, and have that imposter syndrome really creep in. It's like, no, actually, you've done a lot of really great stuff, and this is why, and so like having those reminders is definitely really important for me personally. And I think honestly, I've gotten to a point now where it's like it was like a weekly thing, but now it's like maybe quarterly that I have to come back to it.
Progress.
Yeah, it's progress, exactly.
But it's so funny because I did a video about this a few weeks ago about imposter syndrome, because I do think that it's understanding too, like our worth and our value and just how we view ourselves. But I love that, like, it shows that progress too for you, even in particular, of like how maybe it was weekly, or some people it might be daily or hourly, but how it can progress as we start to build that confidence. Because it can be, you might have outsiders' opinions of like what's going on too. Have you ever experienced that, where maybe not directly, but maybe indirectly, people had things to say or weren't really supportive of your journey? Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe struggle with that. I'm
Mhm.
curious, has that ever been a thing for you?
Yeah, totally. Well, right in the very beginning when I was leaving finance, because even my family was like, "You're leaving such a noble profession, and it took you years to like get to a certain level of success," and then I had friends that just like made some side comments like, "Oh, you're leaving such a noble profession, and now you're going to become like a legal drug dealer," and I'm like, "No," it's like and but at the end of the day, right, I truly believed in what we were doing and the people that we were helping, just because at least on the CBD and hemp side, people were actually, getting helped through some of these products and stuff. And so with all of that being said, it was kind of just like going back to like me first, because I think we live in a world and society where we just want to people please, and we want to look good and avoid looking bad. Like if you think about it, every decision that you've ever made is probably to look good or to avoid looking bad. But then once you realize that, and then you realize like, oh, that's not actually for me. That's, it's not even serving me at all. It has nothing to do with that. That's all about pleasing other people. So once you like make that mindset shift, and when it happened for me, it was like a light switch. And immediately I was just like, oh, no, like, if it doesn't serve me, I'll just say no.
Yes.
And so like it was literally like a light switch for me.
No, I that's awesome that you touched on that, because too it is about like saying yes to ourselves versus saying no to others, or like when we are saying no to somebody, are we saying yes to
Yeah.
ourselves and the whole process that we're dealing with. But I do think that's amazing, because another video I just talked about a few weeks ago as well was about people pleasing. It was a little bit before imposter syndrome, but being able to understand too that, are we pleasing ourselves? Are we showing up for ourselves? And that's a huge part of that, of understanding what are we doing? Are we helping people? How are we serving them? But first, we serve ourselves so we can serve others. And you said it so beautifully too, because it's true. It's
Yeah.
absolutely true. And so, for people who don't maybe know much about the hemp and CBD industry, could you say a little bit more about like how you helped people maybe that don't understand what it is?
Yeah, totally. So obviously, I can't make any medical claims, definitely improvements on the wellness side. And so people that have taken some of these products have noticed like, differences in their mood, sleep, even like diet and appetite as well. So there's like a plethora of health benefits where obviously, again, can't make any medical claims, but coming from like more of like a natural standpoint, and, with everything that's going on with pharmaceuticals and the opioid epidemic and all those things too, a lot of more people are looking for natural alternatives. And so that's where it definitely was able to help people in that regard.
I love that because I do think too, it's really about just helping people and like, especially when it
Mhm.
comes to their health, because I'm a huge advocate for that as well.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, we need to talk about this because I do
Yes.
think like CBD can be so beneficial depending on, of course, like checking with your medical doctor and all that stuff. But going a natural way can really be beneficial. And it's not going to work for everybody because everybody's body chemistry is
Right.
different. And of course, we can't make any medical claims. Want to stress that disclaimer.
Totally. Exactly. I said it like three
But I
times.
do 100%, 100%. But going into more now, like after you left the finance world and moved into consulting, and then now being president of BNC Speakers, it's a mouthful. What was that journey like of just now taking on this huge role?
Yeah, so honestly, it was because of Clubhouse as well. Like Clubhouse honestly like changed our lives. Like
It
so around
absolutely
this
did.
totally. So around this time last year, I reconnected with my old mentor, Ben Newman, and he and I were connected through the finance days, like almost 10 years ago. And I think he may have saw an article where I was recently featured as one of the top influencers on Clubhouse when it was like coming out with all the business and entrepreneur people and stuff. And so that's how we reconnected. And honestly, I knew nothing about this crazy speaking world and speaking industry. And so he just asked me though, he's like, hey, I know you're a fighter, you're a killer. Like, I think you're going to do great. Do you want to join the team? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Like, I know nothing about this. So to be honest, it was a lot of like drinking from a fire hose. And I swear, like, it's just a completely different industry in such a different world because not a lot of people know that, this type of thing exists. But, like companies are always looking for ways to motivate and inspire their teams and bringing in outside perspectives that are not just like industry specific or even just like under their umbrella as a whole. So that's been really cool, just being like the integrator and being a part of this. I feel like Ben is definitely like the visionary and, and I really enjoy being like part of the team, but making a lot of these deals happen. So like I still feel like I'm a part of that impact, but not the one delivering the keynote, obviously. But
Which you would do
like
great.
still a little nervous about that. But I definitely I find a lot of value and just like peace in being able to make some of those connections happen because some of the speakers that we represent, they just create so much impact and they create such a great footprint with a lot of the experience that they've had and what they can teach and pass along to others. So me being a part of that has been like really, really rewarding.
No, and that's an amazing part to be. And when you like have to make these deals happen, what does that look like for you? Like these people might not know much about this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, I like a very simple way I kind of break it down is
Mhm.
I'm kind of like the speaker's matchmaker, kind of like a talent
Ah,
manager, if you will. And so, kind of like a talent manager, so I work with the either the corporation organization looking to bring in a speaker, and then I really work with them to figure out, like what is the theme, the messaging that they want to get across, what are their big goals for the year, because then I can help match them up to a speaker that will help them accomplish that. So we've got some clients that are like on their path to a billion, right? And those are huge numbers, but we can definitely help create some synergies with some of the speakers that we do have from a performance standpoint, but also from a motivational and inspirational standpoint to motivate and inspire these large groups of people and teams.
and where do these speakers go? Like, is it like a certain types of places? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it kind of just depends, especially with like the world that we live in now. There's definitely, I know live events are coming back finally, but with a lot of events still happening virtually, we do have like hybrid models built out. So some of these speakers can either come straight to you, or we can do like a virtual setup where you still get the same sort of like dialogue and interactivity as well. So if you wanted to have lots more interactivity, we tailored some of those keynote speeches more into workshops where like attendees can have like those takeaways that they can implement right away.
That is very cool. And I think too, having it hybrid as well. So like
Yeah,
if people can't officially attend or like get there by plane or train or car, whatever it may
yeah.
be, they can just go right from their home. And I think that just hits the masses and can impact so many people,
Mhm.
which is amazing. And what kind of speakers are they? Is there any, I know we talked about like motivational, inspirational. Is there anything like in particular though when it comes to the speakers?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the speakers on our roster that we represent, we are different from a traditional roster. Some speakers bureaus out there have like thousands of speakers, but we keep ours pretty small. So we have about 30 speakers total, and everyone there has a personal connection to Ben. So again, Ben Newman, one of the top 50 speakers in the world. And so some of the speakers on our roster are professional athletes, Hall of Famers, Olympic gold medalists, executive CEOs, leaders, UFC champion. These are all individuals that have achieved the top 1% of what they do. So you can definitely like expect a really high caliber of individuals when you're working with us.
Wow, that is amazing too. Like just being able to connect with such powerful people that have such great minds and being able to really inspire, but also have such different walks of life too. Like you just were talking about, it's not just somebody who has a life experience, but just the kind of life experience they have to offer as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that's incredible.
Thank you.
But with that being said, I feel like I could talk to you for hours because I have.
I know, right?
Before. But I want to get a little bit into the rapid fire questions if you are ready for them. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So the first question is, who is your hero?
That would be my mother, single mother. She immigrated from Cambodia to the States back in the 70s, and she raised my brother and I all on her own. And, she's definitely my hero.
She sounds incredibly inspiring as well. It's so interesting because a lot of people have said their mother, and I think it's just, again, it's a testament to being a fierce entrepreneur like yourself and being able to be raised by a fierce woman as well.
Yes, 100%. Futurist, so.
You're speaking my language.
Right?
So what motivates you to work hard or work smarter, or just really put in that energy and effort to what you do?
Yeah. So I'm definitely very like values and principle driven, and I feel like my main ones are like family, humility, and ambition. I've always been told I couldn't do things. And, growing up, like didn't have like, the best childhood. I got bullied. So, just being able to like, prove people wrong, and, just also wanting to like, expand on my family's legacy. They didn't immigrate here just to live average lives. So that's really motivating for me, is to create that lifestyle that, they didn't have before.
Well, you're definitely not average. You're above average for sure. And, it's really interesting that you said like that you were bullied growing up too, because I think a lot of times really creative people or people that just succeed so much, there's a story behind it. There's something that has really motivated them. And just like from your experience too, if you want to get into it, you can.
Right.
We can. But I think too, it's just really understanding the depth of what drives us day in, day out. And everyone has a different motivator. But I think too, from like coming from an immigrant family and being able to really have success in your own way, in your own right, even though you like went to school, did everything that you're supposed to do, like society says, and being able to build something on your own is just so inspirational.
Thank you so much. And you said that so beautifully too, because it's totally that underdog story as well, right? And so like we definitely, well, for me anyways, that like really motivated me to like try my best, and might not be like the brightest crayon on the box, right? But I've always like worked really hard at it.
Well, you seem very smart, and from what I know, you're very smart.
I also tried very hard, so.
I hear you. I feel the same way. I was not the straight A student until I got to my doctorate program. It's crazy, right? That works. But same with you. Being able to be a president of a company now is incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
So if you were a superhero, what power would you have? What superpower would you have?
Oh my gosh, this is such a fun question. Gosh, so I have like maybe like 2 or 3. I think like maybe having like a supercomputer brain, just to be able to think faster or like process faster. I feel like I already process fast, and sometimes the words don't come out as fast as my brain's processing. But even like superhuman agility, that'd be pretty cool. Just being able to like have quick reflexes, or being able to make moves 2 or 3 times, or 2 or 3 steps ahead. Or even perhaps like controlling like the elements, because we live in a world where like external factors really like play a part for people, where if it's raining, everyone's like, oh, it's a bad day, like we can't go out. And it's actually no, like you change the weather, right? Make it a great day. Like people would appreciate that. More sunshine in their life.
I love those. You know what I was thinking, like when you said like processing really fast, it's like with your journaling, like how fast would you be writing?
Right.
But I think all three of those are great. And like that would really, I think, change the entire world.
I
How
know,
we
right?
work, how we function day to day.
Exactly. Such a fun question.
Well, that was a fun answer. I appreciate that.
Love it.
So, if you could share a meal with any four individuals, living or dead, who would they be?
Oh man, I felt like this is such a tough one.
I know.
I think number one would be Gemma Chan. I think she is an
Mm,
icon. She does so much work with like advocacy and activism for
mhm.
children, refugees, and domestic violence. Number two, Ken Jeong. He's just absolutely hilarious. Like I would just love to have his contact details in my phone. Like he's just such a funny
Just
guy.
call him up.
Right, I know. And then like Henry David Thoreau. I think he's a great like essayist, poet, philosopher, and probably Seneca. I subscribe to a lot of his philosophy and stuff as well, like being like one of the great like Roman philosophers too. So yeah, kind of like a spread.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely the conversations would be flowing and you would
Yeah,
really feel like just empowered after leaving that meal.
right. Completely,
I know I would.
definitely.
So, what I know you've done a lot of daring things in your life from what I've heard, but what is the most daring thing you've ever done?
Gosh, I think the most daring thing would probably be skydiving. Because at first, I was like all for it, but then when I got up into the plane and they opened up the door and you could see the ground 13,000 feet below you, I was just like, actually, no, never mind, I don't want to do it, but still did it anyway. And so it was definitely one of like the best experiences. So I want to do it more so you don't have to go tandem. You can, jump solo eventually, but I think you have to do a couple of jumps to get there.
Yeah, maybe two or three, maybe not the first one.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Definitely.
And I'm curious when you did like when you were hesitant to like not jump out, like were you
Yeah.
pushed or like were they like we're
Oh
going?
my
Like what
gosh.
happened?
Yeah. Because you have to go tandem with someone, right? And so, like,
Mhm.
I got this guy, his name was Francisco, and we did it in San Diego. So it was like
Mm.
gorgeous ocean, like beautiful views and everything too that you could see right off the coast. But I was like, oh, never mind. Let's just fly down. And he's like, nope. So he just like picked me up and we just went.
Oh my
Didn't have a
gosh.
choice, but it was awesome.
I believe it. And you're inspiring me to do it. I want to do it. I haven't done it
Yes.
yet. It's on my bucket
Yes.
list. It's like one of the top daring things, but
Yes. Do it in San Diego. You get the coast.
I duly noted.
Yes.
So what I know, well, I don't know, but what is the most used phone app that you have?
Speechify, the Speechify
Bitch,
app.
speech.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it actually has like Gwyneth Paltrow as one of the voices.
Oh, so you're feeling like Gwen that day.
Right?
That is
That's
really
pretty cool.
cool. I've never heard of that
Yeah,
app.
it's
That's
super
awesome.
helpful. Yeah, it's definitely super helpful, at least for me or auditory learners, so definitely helpful.
Well, everyone, you heard it here. Check it out. So, Monique, what's the last book that you've read recently?
The last book was Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. So it's about the founder and creator of Nike. So it was just so cool just to learn about his story and
Yeah,
all the ups and downs that he went through as well, and just pushing through it. So that was a really good one. Definitely recommend it.
I will check that out. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yes.
So when it comes to your life thus far, if you were to have a movie about it, who would play you?
Oh my gosh, it would be an honor if Gemma Chan could play me. She's such an icon. The fashion, everything. Like she's awesome. It would be her for sure.
I could see it. I could see it now
Yes.
in heaven or the starlights.
Right?
Awesome. That would be a great movie.
Yeah.
So what is maybe a favorite family recipe that you have? Maybe that you do together or traditionally or anything along those lines?
Yeah, so a traditional Cambodian dish is called ban chao, and so like it's like kind of like it's like an Asian pancake full of just like different proteins and vegetables and all this stuff too, and it's served with like a sweet fish sauce. So good. That would definitely be the one.
That sounds good. I've never had that, but I'm
Yeah.
sure it's delicious.
Yes, yes. I'll send you a recipe.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I will try to cook it. So, if you had to describe yourself as an animal, like personality, style, and everything, what animal would it be?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this too because I was like, oh, what is my spirit animal? I would definitely say it's like a little wolf, probably, because I do find myself leading the pack sometimes, but I'm way more observant before making the first move, super calculated, like trying to make, those intelligent decisions before taking the first strike. I was like, that's so me.
I see that very clearly.
Right?
I love that.
Totally.
Leader of the pack.
Right?
Um, what is one thing that, like, if your day is just going awful or not the
Yeah.
best, that instantly makes it better?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm definitely a big foodie, so it's probably going out to eat.
Nice, nice.
So just trying different restaurants, that always just makes it 10 times better. Like, love food.
Does it matter what kind of food, or it's just like doesn't matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If I had a preference though, like love Thai food and Mexican food, like oh my gosh, we could talk all day about food. So
It's good for the soul, right? And we
exactly.
need it.
Yes, 100%.
So, what is your favorite way to spend your day off? Like, if you're not working, you just have that day to yourself. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I guess in the winter time it would definitely be like I love ice skating. So I'm definitely really into winter sports, snowboarding for sure. But summertime, I love like doing food adventures. And if I could make a food adventure like an all-day event, like we go out, explore the city, go out to eat, try new restaurants, like that would be like the perfect perfect day to spend that time off. I feel like I'm more of like in a fast-paced existence, but that definitely helps to just like chill me out.
I really appreciate that. I think we should do that food tour
Yes, I know, right?
right here in Denver.
Yeah, there's a lot of new places that's opened up, so let's do it.
I'm ready. I think my taste buds are too.
Yeah.
So my final question of the rapid questions are, what is something an outsider wouldn't know about your industry?
Yeah. So I feel like in this crazy world of the speaking industry, fun fact is that, I feel like speakers bureaus and people like myself, like there's just like huge, expensive networks. And so, I would encourage you if you're planning an event or anything like that, just ask. Like if you're looking for something in particular for your event, just ask. Because I know that even some individuals have reached out to us, and we might only be like 1 or 2 degrees away and from that connection that you might be looking for. So it's always worth an ask for sure.
That is good to know, so people can know exactly what it is about.
Yeah,
um, and so my final question, I know I just have to ask so many questions, but
I love it.
where, where can people find you? How can they get in touch with you? Let us know. It'll definitely be linked below, everybody, so you can just click on it. But Monique, please let us know.
Yeah, of course. I definitely hang out on LinkedIn. You can just search my first name, last name, Monique Star. And Instagram, my personal Instagram is at moniquestar.boss. But then if you want to check out our roster of speakers that I've mentioned, you can find them at bncspeakers.com. And so this has been awesome. So, feel free to reach out if there's anything as well.
Awesome. Well, Monique, thank you so much for being here today, taking the time out of your busy schedule to just share your experience and letting people know too. It doesn't matter how many times we've had ups and downs or fail at something, it's just pushing through that. And you can go against what society says in the sense of following your heart and the path that's meant for you. So thank you so much for taking the time today.
Yes, 100%. Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
Of course. Well, thank you, everyone. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below what was the biggest takeaway you got from Monique today. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next video.